Good morning. Hello. Firstly, just want to apologise for the delay on this. I will endeavour to make these more often, so thanks for your patience on it. So, as Pastor said, we're going to do Just As I Am today, and probably one of my favourite hymns, probably one of the most impactful that I've had in my life. So, this hymn was written by a lady called Charlotte Elliott. She's an English lady, and she was born in 1789. And although she was raised in a Christian home, she spent the first 30 years of her life living carefree, writing poems and verses, and just kind of living life as you would. And she moved to Brighton in her early 30s. But her story really changes at 32 when she suffered a very serious illness that made her become frail and basically bedridden for the rest of her life as an invalid. And during her illnesses, she struggled with her mental health, with her spiritual health, in terms of just being okay with her condition. And she did get a well-known preacher came around to her, a man called Caesar Malin of Switzerland. And he basically was inquiring of her for her stance with God and her peace and why she was struggling so much. And she mentioned how useless she felt. And how she found it so difficult being an invalid and so unable. And after the visit, Dr. Milan came back and contacted Charlotte and basically just wanted to apologise for kind of making her feel so uneasy, especially at the time she was having. But he gave her one bit of advice, which really was a turning point. So his advice in this quote was, "You must come as you are, a sinner, to the Lamb of God that taketh away the sin of the world." And that really changed her. And on that note and on that thought, she changed and she got saved that day. And for the next 14 years, every day she celebrated that day as a new birthday, a spiritual birth. And 14 years later, in 1836, she remembered these words and she wrote the words for the hymn, remembering back. And that's why she's called it Just As I Am. And then so I didn't really know much about the lady, but turns out she's written 114 hymns and is the leading English woman's hymn writer. And she had a hymn book called the Invalid's Hymn Book. And her brother was a preacher in a church raising funds, really struggling for funds. And the hymn ended up becoming the biggest fundraiser for the church and for the school for all the brethren's children. And a few years later, the words were put to William Bradbury's melody called Woodworth. And she, like I said, she became Britain's best-known female hymn writer and penned around 150. And even though her condition, she did live to 82, so a long age in anyone's in any time, especially in the kind of 1800s. And like I said, she never regained to normal health. But one of the things that really struck me after reading this was there are some really significant quotes. So there wasn't too much history that I found, but just some good quotes. So I'm just going to basically read those out. So one of them was, "He knows and he alone what it is, day after day, hour after hour, to fight against bodily feelings of almost overpowering weakness, languor and exhaustion, to resolve not to yield to slothfulness, depression and instability, such as the body causes me to long indulge, but to rise every day more determined to take my motto, if a man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily and follow me. God sees, God guides, guards me. His grace surrounds me, and his voice continually bids me to be happy and holy in his service just where I am." And obviously, since this hymn has been written, I believe that it's become one of the most used invitational hymns at the end of services, especially in America. But also, there are so many letters that people have referenced this hymn as being one of the changing points in their life. And the last quote I've got here is, "Only in eternity will reveal the vast number of individuals whose lives have been dramatically changed through the use of this one hymn from the pen of an invalid woman. It is a hymn that can and should be played more frequently than merely an invitational hymn to close the service. Its message is on that we as believers need to be reminded frequently that our eternal standing and peace with God solely depends on Christ's merits, not our own." So I don't know how you all find that hymn, but to me it's a particularly touching one. So yeah, just a little bit about her. Obviously the background of where she's been and all she's been through really adds to the words as we read them and sing them. So thank you.